You're listening to Brigade Radio 1.
Welcome to the Antisocial Show.
They're coming. They're coming. They're coming. They're coming to get you.
Your hosts, Blob and Tyson Sater.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Antisocial Show, a show that firmly believes that Thanos is a twat. I'm Hunter Block, and he's
Tyson Sater.
Yes, I had to throw that in there because I was thinking about Infinity Wars today, because I like to do every episode differently, and if people have been paying attention to the opening of these things, everything that I say is different. Well, not the first few episodes that we did, but I wanted to make it like a unique experience. So
it's a good idea.
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed it, but you know,
I mean, I do. I noticed that it's different. I just I don't know. I don't know that I've noticed every single unique one. Like if you know, like if there, one day maybe. Perhaps there might be a wiki, and the show opening will be noted as being a different thing. So it'll say, yeah. So I don't know, maybe.
I don't know. So how's it going, Tyson?
It's all right. I'm a bit tired. How are you doing?
Same, bit tired. I was. It's been, I don't know how it's been in California, but it's been in the 90s here in Jersey, and it's been excruciatingly hot.
It was in the 90s. It got up to 92 about 2 weeks ago for one day, and then it dropped to 70 the next day. So it's been, it's not been too bad. But, I mean, you got to, on that one day when it's 90, you got to figure out, got to keep the baby cool. Because they can't overheat, It's not.
Oh, absolutely. So it's definitely been hotter than Satan's a-hole outside. I mean, I don't know Satan's a-hole. I don't know what the temperature of his butthole is, but I'm just assuming that since he's Satan,
Yeah.
Satan.
Well, yeah, you would wonder if he's like there's a thing called a tiefling in Dungeons and Dragons, and I believe they're flame resistant. So. They also kind of look like devils. So at the very least, I imagine that, most of him is probably flame resistant, but that's on the outside that we know of. We don't know about, that giant worm that, as Dan Harmon calls it, that is basically our mouth to our anus. Because so wonder if on the inside of the mouth it is vulnerable to fire or heat or whatever, and then further on up the anus you go, perhaps as you get to the vulnerable spot. So maybe the outside is flame retardant, but if you get inside, then or not retardant, but resistant, or just heat resistant. And as you get inside, then maybe it's less heat resistant. I don't know. I really don't know.
But anyway, the analogy fits. It's hotter than Satan's butthole outside.
Analogy. And the first four letters of analogy are ANAL.
Anal.
Yes.
So glad I picked that up really fast tonight, because I am like super quick with the thoughts tonight.
Yeah, we're off to a great start.
I mean, theoretically, it's kind of like an old gym instructor, not a gym instructor. So I went to, what was the name of that gym now? I can't even remember it now.
Gold's Gym?
Oh. No, it wasn't Gold's Gym. It was 365. So when you sign up, you get a personal trainer for X amount of hours. So the trainer, it's like this. If you feel like you're tired and you can't go on, just do it, because that could be your best workout right there, and you never even know about it. So there has been occasions when I was dead tired, and I'm like,
yeah,
how's my performance going to be on the show? And in every one of those aspects, I was quite pleased with myself because, those shows turned into great episodes. So
I always think you do a great job. I never think, boy, Hunter's energy wasn't great that time. It always seems to work from as far as I can tell on my end. Listening to you, I tend to think that I have maybe a bit too low energy for people. Perhaps it's hard to say though. It really also depends on the day. It depends on the show. Consistency is a bit difficult, I think, for me to wrap my brain around because I don't know what consistency is really.
No, I think you give the right amount of energy.
I don't know where my neutral is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no. You give off the right amount of energy because I go off you, so it's like a perfect blend. It's like a nice spice.
It's like almond buttercups.
Correct. You can't have the buttercups without the almond.
Right. Almond butter. You got your chocolate in my almond butter. You got your almond butter in my chocolate. It's delicious, delicious. It's a little clunkier. Because it's a you got your chocolate in my peanut butter. You got your peanut butter in my chocolate. And so however they did it in the Saturday morning version of that. Saturday morning cartoons, you play something on there, like I guarantee if I remember something, it is probably because I saw it more than 4 times, I was going to say 3, but it's like 3 to 4 times, somewhere between 3 and 5 times. If I see something that many times, then it's just stuck in my head forever. Theoretically. Now, it's not necessarily playing all the time, but it's accessible.
I'm glad you actually brought that up. See, this is what I'm talking about as far as like, you bringing that balance, because as far as like what's stuck in my head for life, okay?
Yeah.
And keeping in the traditional sense of the show, since we do talk about movies, what's stuck in my head? Hold on, let me see if I can't bring it up to warn others about this. It's a movie. So I'm going on Prime right now, everybody. Just so that I'm not giving out the wrong information. Let's see. Now this is all right. So let's see here. This might be in the further back regions of what I've been watching as far as movies are concerned. Crap. Let's see. The Nun. No, it's not the Nun. That was pretty decent. Just bear with me 1 second, folks, because I am going off my phone. Nope, that's not it. We're getting close, though. Oh, anyway.
Oh, I just realized I can't leave that audio I just did in because it's not parody. It's just a cover. Well, if somebody makes a copyright claim, that as long as they're not a jerk about it. Anyway, yes.
All right, so this. That's not it either. Where the hell is it? I guess it's not on here now. Okay, so I've been, in the past couple of days, I've been going through horror movies on Prime, like Amazon Prime, and
really?
trying to find something different to watch, maybe something, because I love 80s horror movies, and so I've been trying to find something maybe that I haven't watched, because obviously, there's 10 years in a decade, so you can't watch everything. Certainly I haven't. So, but I found something in the later half of the 70s, and I've noticed that there's a trend with 70s horror movies. And so I'm watching this movie, and it's about this high school girl, and she starts receiving notes in her locker, right? Like threatening notes. And nobody knows, she doesn't know who it's coming from. The notes just say, I know who you are, I'm watching you, I know all about you, yada, 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 yada. And as it turns out, and this is where your brain really starts making connections with things that aren't there just yet. So she started receiving creepy phone calls. And not to mention that her photographer teacher is also kind of a creep. He's kind of like a little bit of a pervert, so you think that maybe he's like the guy or whatever. Now, nobody actually dies in this movie. There's spoilers. Nobody actually dies in this movie, but my brain wanted to make the connection that I'm watching a movie about a killer or a stalker or something like that. So, like I said, creepy phone calls with the heavy breathing and stuff like that. And it led to the point where she's babysitting and she answers the phone and you hear like this really sinister, creepy, psychotic laugh. And I don't want to do it because I don't want to wake anybody up. And he's like, "Are you alone in the house?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, this is so good. I have to finish this movie." And it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, but I don't care because I have to finish this. It's like nuts now, right? Like that one phone call just locked me into, I had to know what this movie was about. And as it turns out, it was like any other like weird 70s like thriller movie. It had nothing to do with a killer or an escaped lunatic. It was like a movie, kind of like The Last House on the Left, Night Murders, which was a foreign movie, but still same thing. It was like two girls on a train with thugs. And I noticed that, yeah, I Spit on Your Grave, yes. And I noticed that there's a trend with these movies, and it's kind of bizarre with the back end of the 70s, I think, with these movies. It's not just like one movie, it's just like a slew of movies all with the same concept. And I mean, I just waste. Oh, by the way, Dennis Quaid was in this movie. By the way, that's why I probably a young Dennis Quaid. That's why I entertained it for so long.
Did you say what this movie was called yet? I don't know if I caught the beginning of it.
No, I was trying to find it.
I didn't know if it was going to be a surprise or not. So, well, you can take a moment and look up Dennis Quaid or something. I can wait. I will just leave a blank spot and I can cut it out more cleanly.
No, that's true. All right, let me see if I can find it real quick.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I got it. It's called "Are You Alone in the House?"
Oh, okay. It's a good title.
Yeah, that's why. Because don't forget, there is a movie like that in the '80s where, there was something like. It was a slasher movie, but it was someone calling the babysitter stalking the babysitter.
Sure, yeah.
So I thought maybe it was something like that, but it wasn't. And
I love movie titles. I'm sorry.
So do I.
They're really cute. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'll get back to that. Please tell you. Please, I'm listening.
These movies end so badly, and it's like they just end abruptly, like nighttime train murders. Again, it was another one where it just ends like abruptly. It just makes no sense.
Now, when you say abruptly, does that feel like dissatisfying as far as a viewing experience, to where you're like where it ruins it in some kind of way, or does it? Or does it depend on the film? I mean, is it?
No, it just like I'm dissatisfied about how it ends. Let's say that. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like totally just dissatisfied. I was definitely dissatisfied with these two movies, how they ended.
Yeah, horror movies are really hit and miss. I mean, they can be very fun. A good one's fun,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I mean, some horror movies punish you for wanting to watch a horror movie.
True. No, that's true.
I can't think of one specifically, but I do like movies that also make fun of the horror genre or deal with it in an interesting way, like movies like Cabin in the Woods, which I've only seen once. I thought that was really clever, especially as a fan of horror films. Classic, Cabin in the Woods style horror. Have you seen Cabin in the Woods?
I think I might have like once,
okay.
At least.
So that one's a good one. Anyway, so I'm sorry. So tell me more about this dissatisfying experience, if you'd like to.
Essentially, Dennis Quaid, and spoilers, Dennis Quaid turns out to be he's a rich kid. So he has his family's like very powerful.
He's a rich kid.
Yeah.
And he's gone too far.
He did. He's the rest. And his buddy's dating the girl that he and so basically her and the boyfriend are trying to figure out how to capture this guy, because apparently the police doesn't want to get involved. They can't take him to court. If they take him to court, it's probably going to get thrown out because she's not a virgin, which I don't know what that has to do with anything, but okay, whatever.
When was it? This is a movie that was in the 70s, did you say?
Yes.
What was it, 1970 what?
let's see if it pulls up the so this was 1977.
I guess, well, what it seems to suggest is at that point in time, virginity was still a sign of trustworthiness. Inversely to where the idea that non-virginity is a sign of it's bad. Non-virginity is a sign of, what's that? Why can't I think of the word?
Purity?
Well, it's like distrustfulness. If non-virginity, I mean, I'm saying as far as the message they were selling to people in movies and things, you know, this is this sort of this message. So, like, a woman with a past is untrustworthy in the eyes of these narratives. Like, you know, it's you know what I mean?
Yeah, if her virtue isn't intact, the sign.
Yeah. It's a very, you know, primitive idea.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's basic, and I'm not sure what it's based on. I don't know when virginity started becoming a prized thing. In culture, I don't know that it always was. It probably wasn't always. Like, it seems like something that, you know.
Well, I mean, it used to be back in the old days.
Yeah. But I'm thinking it's gone through periods of being important and not being important, you know, societally, or at least, you know, I don't know. It's hard to say. It's
But anyway, so
yeah.
Yeah, so that what they did was to capture this guy because he was now doing it to somebody else, the boyfriend and the girl, the victim.
Mm-hmm.
He because she's in photography, right? Like I said, she had like the camera and stuff like that. So what they did was they set up a camera for time lapse photos, right? And they put the camera in such a way that no one can see it, but it was pointed at the other girl's locker so that they can capture him putting the note in the locker, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So she's walking past the girl's locker, and she sees that there's a note sticking out. So now she's going to run back into the room where the camera is. And when she goes in, Dennis Quaid is in there, and you know he's about to rough her up, punch her in the face, and all that. She's screaming, and then her boyfriend hears it down the hall with another dude, and they come busting through the door, and then it just abruptly ends, and now you see her like in a dark room, and it's like. She's like thinking to herself. She's like, "Oh yeah, you know, he pled guilty to the assault, but not to the rape, and he didn't go to jail, and he's probably in some rich boarding school somewhere, and it just ends there. That's the entirety of the movie. So, to me, like there was no satisfaction whatsoever. It was a stupid movie, and it's a very weird 1970s pop culture thing to have almost in every single. Thriller movie, because if you think about it, Death Wish with who's the actor? Charles Bronson.
Death Wish, did you say?
Yeah, Death Wish.
Yes, Charles Bronson.
Charles Bronson, yes. It's basically the same thing. In the first one, his daughter was raped. Second movie, his daughter was raped. I mean, and pretty much throughout the movie, every single female is basically.
And they made 5 or 6 of these movies.
Yes. By the end, he was like walking with a crutch, with a walker. He's like, "I'm gonna take my revenge, Sonny."
It's dark, it's really dark stuff. I never did see any of the Death Wish movies.
No, I did. I mean, what's his name? The dude that played the Fly.
Jeff Goldblum.
Yes, he was in a very small scene in the beginning of Death Wish.
Yeah, he's the one that. I think his lines were like "rich C-word, stupid rich C-word."
Yes, and she's taking the paintbrush.
I didn't see the movie. I've heard the.
Yes.
I've heard the.
So basically, one of the bists took a paintbrush and started like using it on the girl's bottom, right? Just started painting her butt, and he's like, "I'm an artist" or something like that. So then, of course, Jeff Goldblum's like, "That's not art. I'll show you art." And then he like bends her over and he's like, "Look, she's taking the paintbrush." And it's just a very strange.
It sounds very strange. I haven't seen it. Yeah, so it's hard to visualize.
Just think. I don't think about these things. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, every once in a while, we do these edit points. And we don't normally mention the edit points. We do when we have guests on the show. For all of you, I was talking to Corey Epps earlier in the day about bringing him on the show. Obviously, when we do have guests on the show, we do a lot of edit points. But anyway, the point though is the last night when I told him that he can come on the show whenever he wanted. He was talking to somebody. I forget who he was talking. I think he was talking to his Uber driver about podcasting. So one of the cool things about podcasting, if you're not doing it live, I mean, eventually Tyson and I will figure out how to do this live. At least one episode would be cool, just to see if we could do it. But one of the coolest things about doing a non-live podcast is that you can make it sound like you're doing it toward an audience, like someone's listening to it, even though it's not at the moment. But you can always do like the edit points. And it's just like, okay, edit point, and then you stop doing the show, and then you talk about what you got to talk about, and then you say, okay, jump back in, and then the show starts again. So we did an edit point because Tyson had to wet his whistle. And so now we're back. So now we're talking about, yeah, there you go.
Gross,
now
isn't it, hearing people's mouth sounds? I'm sorry.
We're talking about the weird 70s pop culture about how is in almost everything.
Film, yeah.
I'm so glad that ended with the with the start of the true slasher decade with like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th. I mean that really launched the true dawn of the slasher age. I think definitely not. If you notice, there's a trend. There's one guy in this movie called The House to the Left, or the Last House to the Left, or something like that.
Last House on the Left. Yes,
there's a dude in there who seems to be in almost every single thriller movie throughout the 70s. So, it's very weird culture. I mean, I just watched like an hour of like 30 minutes or something. Like I can't get back now. So I just want to like send Dennis Quaid a personal letter saying thank you for that. I think some retribution, some monetary retribution is in order for this, and
monetary retribution.
Right. Restitution.
Restitution. Oh, yeah. I like that.
I meant to say restitution. Retribution is something different.
Yeah, as long as you didn't say reparations.
No, definitely not reparations. Monetary what did I just say?
Very inappropriate.
Yes.
To do the other thing. Now I'm all in my head. I just hear something that's a combination of the word you want and the word prestidigitation, and I can't wrap my mind around. I'm hearing like rappertigitation or something, and that's not it. That's not even close. Restitution. Is it restitution? Financial restitution?
Yes, I think I should get money for this.
Are you talking about getting money back? Because that's reimbursement, but that's probably not what you were trying to say.
Well, in this case, no. I wasn't saying I was trying to get money back. I think I should receive some type of money.
Compensation?
Right. Right. Compensation. Watching this god awful bullshit.
It sounds terrible. What was the movie called again?
Alone in the House.
You were never. No, say it again. You were off mic for part of that. What?
Are you alone in the house?
Are you alone in the house? Okay, so now titles of movies, really good. Think about these. Like they're kind of like there's an art to giving this sort of like. My point is, there's only one of those, unless there's a remake of it or something. There's in the sense that if you're in a peer group in horror. Amongst horror people, I'm sure the name of that movie is like, it'd be like if you say Death Wish, a lot of people really don't go, what, the Bruce Willis remake of the original? They think of the Charles Bronson one, at this point in time at least. At some point in the future, they'll just be which one you're talking about. But at this point, so my point is like, are you alone in the house? There's probably nothing else called that. It's very striking. It's a question. It goes, putting question marks in above my head. And it's a question,
Yes.
It's
a question in the title.
Like, and now the screaming starts, Like, that's a great one.
That's a movie?
Oh, yeah. It's called And Now the Screaming Starts. Yes.
Okay.
Let's see. The rats are coming. The werewolves are here.
The rats are coming. The werewolves are here. Now, what decade was that movie?
I'm going to say 60s or 70s. That's my guess. Not. I mean, I think it might be an Italian movie like that one, Rat's Night of Terror, but I don't know.
That was a good movie.
There was one that was called Beware of Blob, Son of Blob?
Beware of Blob, Son of Blob.
I think that's what it was called. I might have that wrong. But I know that you remember the Blob, right? The original with Steve McQueen?
Oh yeah, I remember the one with Steve McQueen. I remember obviously the 80s remake, which I love.
Yeah, so that was So the original one, the Steve McQueen one, had the song for associated with it called "Beware of the Blob," and it was done by Burt Bacharach, and it was very like very kind of light and jovial, considering that this is a movie about a shapeless alien terror. But it's like it's very like light and kind of 60s sort of like go-go style, kooky jazz kind of. It's a funny song. People should listen to it sometime. I could bring it up on the thing. I'm not going to. Beware of the blob. It leaps and creeps and glides and slides across the floor. It's like it makes it sound like a Dr. Seuss kind of experience, as opposed to the terror that it is. Yes, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
If you notice, some horror movies back in those days did have kind of humorous, upbeat type songs to them.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was just so strangely upbeat. It was like Beware of Santa. So not Beware, like Hooray for Santa Claus from Santa Claus Conquers the Martians.
What?
That's a movie?
That's
a movie, yeah. They did it on Mystery Science Theater years ago, and it is in the public domain, so you can go to archive.org and watch it for free. It's got Pia Sedora in it as a very young person. And it's like it's a bunch of kids singing. It's like SANTACALCLAUS, hooray for Santa Claus. So yeah, it's SANTACLAUS, hooray for Santa
Claus.
Santa Claus. But no, they're saying SANTA, which is Santa. Yeah, so you spell it Santa, but apparently you say it's Santy.
Santy. Beware of Santa Claus.
Beware of Santa Claus. No, it's not Beware. It's Hooray for Santa Claus. Sorry, yeah, I said Beware first because I messed up.
Hooray for Santa Claus.
Hooray for Santa Claus. Cha cha cha. Yeah,
that's crazy. But you know what? Still better than Nighttime Train Murders. Still better than Are You Alone? Are You Home Alone? Or Are You Alone in the House? Still probably better than that.
Probably. Santa Claus Conquers the Martian is a special kind of odd film. It's definitely of its time. It's this strange story of Martians, right? This is like a 1960s movie. So imagine something very colorful and cartoonish, but it's live action, right? So like very costumey costumes, but like. In the 60s, there's like a lot of matte and kind of like rounded. Anyway, so it's Martians, and their children. The Martians are a very advanced culture. They have food pills, their children are apparently watching television and getting depressed. And when they figure out what it is that they're watching, it's Santa Claus basically, and then Mars doesn't have a Santa Claus, so it makes them sad. So basically, the Martian elders decide, well, let's go kidnap Santa Claus. Mars could use a Santa Claus, as you do.
Only there's no Santa Claus, obviously. I mean, spoilers, but there's no Santa Claus, so...
Well, there is in this movie.
Oh.
I mean, this movie, there definitely is. And so he does live at the North Pole. It's a bizarre movie. They have the Martians have these guns that like are like these weird hair dryer things that you go. They're like air guns. You go and then pull the trigger and they go. They make that thing. You ever seen those? Like
Yeah.
those things. Not the ones that are like with the string. That they have the ball of air
with the corkscrew.
But it's like it's just a little. It's like a plastic toy gun that makes a popping noise.
That like when I was a kid, like
so it was like a freeze gun, like so they go, and then the person would freeze in place. I don't know why would they be doing this. So this is mid run, and I can't really get a good lead up in the chair.
So basically, in this bizarre movie from the '60s and the '70s, there is a Santa Claus on Earth or the North Pole, and he's abducted by Martians.
He is.
He goes to, I guess, Mars, and he gets pissed off, and he does he like lay waste to like the Martians, or like does he like do the elves try to rescue him in any way?
Yes, I think the ending of that movie I can never really remember very well. I do remember there's a climactic battle that takes place in a toy factory.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's great that that you've never seen it because this movie.
I have to.
This movie could be anything to you in your head right now. It might sound like the most awesome thing. I assure you, it's very mediocre, but it is fun to watch. It is very fun to watch. And by the way, the Mystery Science Theater episode that was done on this one originally was with Joel Hodgson, the original host, and Joel and the Bots, I believe in that episode, debuted the song Patrick Swayze Christmas. And it was a Christmas song adapted from the plot, basically, of the movie Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze.
Now, this movie would have to have been done in the 80s then if this was because wasn't Roadhouse done in the 80s?
No, but Mystery Science Theater was.
Oh,
Mystery Science Theater was done in the actually in the 90s. I think it started either 88 or 89, like really late 80s, early 90s. That's my recollection. And also I think on public television in 87, 88. I think it might have been 1988. Might have been the first year, like on KTMA, I think, or something like that. I'm fuzzy. I'm sorry. I know there's people who know this, and but I'm close. I'm very close. Anyway, so yeah. They did older films, and this would have been really recent. But the episode of the season of Santa Claus Conquers the Martian was actually into the 90s enough that there had been time for Roadhouse to have been a thing. So it works out that way. I didn't realize actually how close to that time it was, because that movie was actually kind of a newer film when this Christmas song, this funny Christmas song, was created.
I mean, there's a lot of bizarre films out there. Even if like you just take like the time just to I know this sounds weird, but sometimes I don't even watch movies. Like sometimes I'll just search Amazon, right? And it's not necessarily to watch something; it's to necessarily see what's on. God bless you. Or if you're coughing, you okay?
Yes. Was coughing.
Okay.
I just didn't want to have to pick that up on the recording.
So sometimes I just search Amazon just to see what they have, and there are so many bizarre films on Amazon Prime. So many bizarre films.
There are. I actually saw one on Amazon Prime recently. Did you have something more that you were segueing to from that, or because I didn't want to cut you off if you were?
Oh, no. I just wanted to say that there was so many bizarre films.
Yeah. So, I saw one on Amazon Prime because, so at the point of time this is right now, it is the 1st of, I guess it's the 2nd of July to you?
Yep, 2nd of July to me.
Okay, 1st of July to me, 2nd of July to you. And in the year 2019. And
in the year of our Lord.
So, it's Monday evening for me, Tuesday morning. So at 9 o'clock on Tuesday morning, there will be a podcast that I've been listening to weekly for 8 years or something. or 9 years, however long the show has been a thing, I've been listening to it. And I do the Tumblr. It's www.noonerpodcast.com.
Excuse me.
I've been doing that Tumblr with varying degrees of focus and dedication over the years for a long time. And there's a reason why I bring it up. Oh yeah, so on the last week on Nooner, they were coming up with something that everybody could watch so they could talk about it next week.
Mm.
Yeah, so it ended up landing on Chasing Happiness, the Jonas Brothers documentary.
Okay.
Do you know who the Jonas Brothers are?
Vaguely.
Yeah, see, me too. Now I do know that they were huge when you heard their names said more often. I never really came across any of their music because I didn't listen to the radio around that time. I was kind of listening to whatever I wanted to, essentially, just finding stuff. And
This would be like late 90s, correct? I was in high school, I think, when I heard the Jonas. Yeah, I was in high school.
Was it Jonas Brothers?
Yeah.
I think it was more recently, like within the last 10 years.
Let's see. No, I could have sworn. Like, hold on. Let's just find out. Just
yeah, let's find out totally, because I'm curious. Like enough time has gone by with them, certainly, that they are now in their late 20s, early 30s, I believe.
Okay, so the Jonas Brothers are an American pop rock band formed in. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Why? That's all right.
I wasn't even in high school in 2005. I graduated in 2000. So this was formed in 2005 to gain popularity from their appearances on Disney Channel television network. They consist of three brothers, Kevin Jonas, Joe Jonas, and Nick Jonas.
Uh-huh. I have frozen, by the way. I can see that my picture is frozen. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but
Yeah,
you are back frozen. But
wow.
yeah, so
I look very like I'm thinking about something there. I'm like,
very informative. But yes, they formed in 2005. God. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was literally 5 years after I got out of high school.
Wow. Okay, so let's see. What year you say? 2005?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
2005.
So in 2005, I've been married for 2 years. Yeah, I didn't listen to the radio. We were doing karaoke around the time. Now, so I don't know really much about them. I don't know their music. It turned out,
Neither do I.
But the funny thing is that it was because I didn't know anything about them or I hadn't heard any of their music that I was actually interested in watching this documentary. Because it was because of that I knew nothing. That it was like, because when I watch a documentary about a subject matter, specifically like music, and it's something I know like absolutely nothing about, it makes it feel like a mockumentary to me. Like it's not real, except I know that it is. It's like this whole, like it could be a made-up universe, but it's not. It's just so, and it's fascinating. And then it's more fascinating because it's like, I understand. I cannot get distracted by details that I already know. Essentially, you know what I mean. I could just enjoy watching whatever the story this thing is trying to tell does, and I can experience it without any kind of prejudice or preconceived notion.
Yeah, because it really goes back to what you. I mean, yeah, I totally like when you're watching like a documentary, right?
Mm-hmm.
Particularly on somebody like you've never heard of before, never seen, maybe never took an interest in what they've done before, right?
Yeah.
It's always more enjoyable to find out who the person was. Maybe going forward, maybe you do like listening to their music, or maybe you do like reading their books, etc. I mean, I'm glad you brought this up because it's really been something that's been weighing my mind for the past couple of days, right?
Okay.
And I don't like to get grim on this show. You know what I mean?
Okay.
For obvious reasons, but I'm gonna bring this up like really quickly. I've been watching the Leaving Neverland doc, right?
Which one is that?
Leaving Neverland doc, the two-parter show.
But what is it about?
The Michael Jackson thing.
Okay.
With the two kids. So the thing about, and I'm not going to get into it. The thing about it though is, it's like knowing what he did, right? Watching the documentary, right? Can you still enjoy his art, right? Dear listener, we had a hope not, a slight technical difficulty, as we sometimes do on the antisocial show. As Davian Dent likes to point out, it's not anti-social show; it's anti-social show. If you say it properly,
We say anti.
Yeah, because it's anti-social show. It's the anti-social show. I can't say anti. It's like, you want to see the anti-social show? No, it's anti-social show.
Well, it might actually be one way over here and another way over there. It's probably it's very likely to be. It could be one of those words that it's just said differently over there.
Tomato, I get it.
Well, like the word fanny.
Right.
Yeah, like in that one Kevin Smith Evening Harder, the one he did in London or whatever it was. Or, I don't know, it was London. He did it somewhere in somewhere in the. Can I even say UK anymore? I don't understand anything about Brexit.
Neither do I. It's like a very weird thing. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, getting back to what we were talking about before, documentaries. Tyson brought up the Jonas Brothers. Before our little freeze. And I was talking about the Neverland doc. Now, the reason why I was talking, and Tyson made a good point about it, if you don't know something that you're watching, like as far as like documentaries, you can forget all the stuff that you do know about the person and just enjoy the documentary. Maybe learn something. Maybe maybe it's like if it's like an author. Okay, like I never knew about this guy before. Let me start reading his books because I like what the guy's writing. Right.
Okay.
So I was watching and again, I don't like to talk about gloom and doom on the show. Certainly, religion, politics has been cut out for a reason, because this is a place that you go to get away from everyday reality, at least for an hour and 30 minutes, or just an hour, or however long Tyson decides to render the show. Entirely up to him.
To edit the show.
Right. Well, when you edit it, the show, or render the however long it's going to be, is what I'm trying to say. So
sure. Yeah.
So if Tyson so chooses to say, okay, the show is going to be an hour, this is how long it's going to be, that's how long the show is going to be. If Tyson decides it's going to be like 45 minutes, then it's going to be 45 minutes. But however long it's going to be, that's however long that you have to escape the everyday reality, right? So watching the documentary Leaving Neverland, I saw the bad parts of Michael Jackson, obviously, if that's in fact true. But now I was watching Bill Maher on Sunday.
And it bummed you out.
It bummed, yeah. Oh, yeah, it severely bummed me out, because I remember, like, obviously, listen, I'm not stupid. Like, I remember in the 90s when that whole thing was going on. I remember as a kid watching this, like, and not understanding what was going on, because he was my icon. Not my icon, really, but, like he was like, I remember like my mom doing like homemade videos of me like watching like his like Thriller or something, like, or Beat It or whatever it was, and I was like singing to it and dancing to it and just having a good time. And like I don't want to say like I plastered my room in Michael Jackson posters, because I didn't, but I enjoyed the music, obviously, as most kids my generation did. But now the thing about it is, they were talking about it on Bill Maher, Leaving Neverland, and the question was, can you separate the artist from the person, right? So in other words, if you knew the person was an asshole, sorry Tyson, but if you knew the person was an asshole, can you still enjoy their work? Like take Charles Dickens, for example. He wrote wonderful volumes of work, but yet he was an asshole towards his wife behind closed doors.
Was he?
But yeah, Charles Dickens.
What, he was? I didn't know anything about this.
Oh yeah. This was brought up on Bill Maher, but so the thing, and I didn't even know that either, but the thing about it was, can you still enjoy the artist?
Yeah. Is that
over who the person was? Can you separate that? Like, draw the line? Like, and I still honestly think, like, giving it some thought, I can. Like, I can listen to like Thriller, and enjoy the artist part of him without, you know what I'm saying?
Right. So okay. So what it sounds like to me is that
Like, I've never seen a documentary so far, and I've just never seen one. I don't mean like I have seen one that I haven't thought ... I mean, I literally haven't seen a documentary that made me think that Michael Jackson was actually guilty of anything. So you're telling me that this documentary might do that?
Yes. So
Okay,
they have,
so that's interesting. So, but that's
Leaving Neverland Part 1 and Part 2 is the two kids. One was from California, the other one was from Australia, and these kids were basically Michael Jackson's like family. Basically, like he went to their houses, like he had personal conversations, the whole works. So if these two guys are telling the truth, then it paints a completely different behind the scenes picture of Michael Jackson. Where
I was going to see this documentary. I just
I mean, I want to say see it, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how Laura will take it.
Oh, well, I'm not going to watch it with Laura. No, she's
the thing.
She doesn't like to be bummed out either.
I watched it with Jesse.
Yeah.
Right. And now I have 9 years on Jesse, right? I'm 38, she's 30. But Jesse still, of course, is a Michael Jackson fan. So we were discussing whether or not like we believe these two guys or do we disbelieve these two guys.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Well, that's what it sounds like, yeah.
Right at the height of when this happened, right? She would have been too young to really, like, should have been a baby, basically.
When did it happen? Can you give like a date, a place and time so I can kind of like anchor my...
Yes.
It was sometime like, I know in the early or mid or late 90s.
No. This all happened...
When the allegations started, I mean.
Right. The allegations started in early 90s, as far as like 1990, going back that far.
Really? So like after Bad, I think?
Oh, yeah.
But before Smooth Criminal?
Yeah. After Bad,
or before Moonwalker, which I think was like 90 or 91.
Yeah, it was right around those. Remember the Criss-Cross Brothers?
Criss-Cross Brothers. Are you talking about Criss Cross will make you jump?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, they're just called Criss-Cross. Like you said, the Criss-Cross Brothers, because I was like, unless the Criss-Cross Brothers are something else.
It was right around that time. So it was right around 91, 92, 93. Wow. So Jesse was really too young to have even known about this, where I was probably, I want to say 9, 10 years old, something like that. So
I was in high school.
My brain wasn't even young enough to process what was going on. Like you take like a guy like you looked up to, not even like your hero. Like I never looked at him as like my personal hero, but like you respected what he did, you know? And you're like, but again, my brain is too young to process this.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All I see is like at that time that I can understand is like people are accusing this man that I liked of doing something bad. Obviously, I didn't know what the bad thing was, but it was definitely something bad, like to a child, basically. And obviously, when I got older, I understood what it was that he was being accused of. So when you look at this documentary, it's kind of like, do you want to believe these two guys and like their anguish, or do you want to like disbelieve them and, you know, kind of like side with Michael Jackson and give him the benefit of the doubt? You know what I'm saying? And part of me wants to do that because he's dead. And the other part of me wants to say, well, maybe, you never know, maybe he did that because, you know, after all, he was human. People do make mistakes, or whether intentional or unintentional or whatever. But I mean, and I'm not even saying like, listen, I'm not condoning what he did if he did do it. I'm just saying watch the documentary. You know what I'm saying?
It's called Finding Neverland, Leaving Neverland. Which one is it?
Leaving Neverland.
Leaving Neverland. So Finding Neverland is the movie about the guy who wrote Peter Pan, I think.
Yeah. No, that's a happy version of the movie.
Starring Johnny Depp.
Right. Leaving Neverland is a documentary on Michael Jackson. So.
Okay. Well, what is it on Amazon Prime?
Correct.
Oh, yeah. Good. Then I'll...
Both of them. It's 2 parts.
Okay. Well, that's good. That would be crappy if they put part 1 on Amazon Prime and didn't put part 2 on or something like that.
So anyway, getting back to happy stuff now.
Jonas Brothers. So at any rate, yeah.
Jonas, yes. So I mean, I've heard the name.
It was a nice documentary. That's all I'm saying.
But I've never listened. Like back in 2005, I've never listened to anything of theirs.
So they were in. They're from New Jersey.
Yes, that part I did know.
Do you know what part of New Jersey the two different parts they lived in were, or near, or? And I don't know that these are actual. Is it Wyckoff a place?
What is it called?
Wyckoff.
Wyckoff.
Wyckoff, maybe.
That's a road in Freehold. I don't know if it's an actual town.
Okay, there's a Wyckoff church. There's a church in Wyckoff. It's like an Assembly of God, Wyckoff Assembly of God. So they lived near that. And then they lived in a place called the Hills. I think I don't know. It was I can't remember what it was.
Hillsborough.
What?
Hillsborough?
No, it definitely wasn't Hillsborough. Unless they were referring to it in a familial form. Do people call Hillsborough the Hills?
No.
Okay. So yeah, you would know. So it's like, but it's like, I am also probably misremembering these details because I just kind of jammed in my viewing. At any rate, so we could talk about it on. So when I say we, so I can be part of the conversation. That was the idea, is that everybody now. But the funny thing is, Marty had to watch it. Cassandra had to watch it. Right. John Sylvain agreed to watch it. I don't know if any of them, because I haven't been looking on Twitter at all, but I don't know if any of them have actually watched this documentary. But I definitely have. I'm sure at least one of them have, and it was probably Cassandra. And I think John would too. I think Marty definitely would try to get out of it. I started it last Wednesday and finished it today. So you can see that it took a little bit of time for me to get around to it. But I did manage to jam it in.
They are from the Jonas Brothers band. So three brothers, Kevin Jonas, Nick Jonas, and Joseph. All right.
Yeah.
We're originally from Wyckoff, New Jersey. Okay, so I've actually, to be honest with you, I've never even heard of Wyckoff, New Jersey. It's got to be either really south, or really north. But definitely not in the middle, because that's my territory. So I've never even heard of Wyckoff, New Jersey. It's got to be a real small town, I think.
Probably. My understanding is they had a pretty close-knit community with the church that was there.
Small towns in New Jersey do, because take Freehold.
Yeah.
There's like a church like every 2 feet.
Well, the bigger the population of people who want to go to church, the more churches you need.
Well, that's very true. Yeah. So did Marty watch this documentary yet, or he has not yet?
I don't know if any of them have. I'm assuming that Cassandra probably definitely has. It'd be funny that this is the thing, is that it's going to be probably 2 months, maybe 4 months before people hear this. So, but it is, it's July 2nd now. It's still actually the 1st for me for a little bit longer, like actually for almost an hour. So anyway, and the 2nd for you. And, last week this was the assignment. So, but last week for everybody else will be months from now. So,
oh yeah, absolutely.
But at this moment in time, so this might make it fun for people to go back and listen to Nooner and dig into the archives.
The thing about it is, we say like, okay, you're going to hear this particular episode right now, July 1st for you, July 2nd for me. Probably. When did you say? When did you predict?
What?
So
like 3 to 4 months, probably. I mean, it's just by the number of, if it's one every 2 weeks on a good set of 2 weeks, when I have time, then it's like 2 a month. So if we've got this will be the 6th one banked, I think. So then it becomes, every 2 is like a month. So then it's like 2, 4, 6. So at least 3 months from now, people will be hearing this.
So it
won't be immediately.
So basically what Tyson is saying is that theoretically next week we probably won't record. That'll be our downtime, but we probably will record the following week. Or who knows? Sometimes we will just say hit record anyway. Sorry, Tyson.
It's reasonable. It's reasonable to assume that.
I got better at my swear words. But that's basically the parody of it. I mean, so we may say, okay, we're recording now, but we may not record next week. But we may record next week, depending on circumstances. So we may, in fact, get a guest. You never know. We may not. We may just say, okay, let's just record anyway, just for shits and giggles, which we tend to do sometimes because we just like doing it. Or we may not record next week, and we may record the following week. So you're right. So Tyson is right. You may not hear this particular episode until January, and that's fine too. I mean, so now going back to the Jonas Brothers doc. Now
yeah.
So now you have to do a whole you say a Tumblr thing.
Well, the Tumblr is just a running commentary on. There's a Tumblr for Nooner Podcast. It's called Nooner Podcast. It's at noonerpodcast.com, and it's basically just like they'll say, Trump was in North Korea over the weekend, and then I'll go look for a Wikipedia reference or a Google page or something, and then stick the link on the Tumblr. This way, people can keep like a running. It keeps a running commentary of what things were discussed in the show at the pace that either I or Darren Husted, who also does the Tumblr, can do this. Like it's like we each have less time to actually be able to hit everything they talk about, depending on where it's at. Because sometimes it's a cluster of things, and sometimes it's just Darren's really good at it, by the way, and he has many podcasts of his own. I think he has like, I don't know if he has 5 concurrently or more. He has so many though, but and some of them are just like the first one I noticed was one called A Talking Cast, and it exclamation or no question mark, and it was basically a minute by minute discussion of a film called A Talking Cat that I'd never heard of.
Speaking of cats, the studio cat has made her entrance into the studio.
Yes. I just noticed this. I saw the tail of the
of Luna.
The tail of the studio pussy.
Yeah, pretty much. She I've dubbed her the studio cat.
Kitty cat.
For some reason, it's weird because whenever I come in here, right, whether it be doing the show or just gaming or whatever it is, I'm sitting in this chair. She has to be on my lap. There's no question about it. I can say shoo, shoo, shoo kitty, shoo. Doesn't matter because she's just going to come back. The cat came back the very next day.
Cat came back. Thought it was a goner, but the cat came back. It just couldn't stay away.
But yeah, as far as like R3, not to go off topic, but as far as R3,
I don't even remember what topic we were on.
It makes perfect sense because Luna, right, the one that you've been seeing, is the most antisocial of all 3, right? So basically, when you walk into the house, there's 2 exactly. There's 2 of them that will try to be your friend once they warm up to you, right? So there's 2 of them that'll try to warm up to you.
Cats. 2 cats.
Right.
That's
there's
nice.
2 cats. Right. That'll get to warm up to you once they know you, right? Like they're not going to like immediately come to you and say, "Hey, I want to be your friend." They have to kind of like work themselves up to it. Where the black one that you've been seeing you'll never see that one if you were in this house. Like you'll never see it. You'll never see her at all. So she's the more antisocial one. So it's kind of like the joke around the house: antisocial show, antisocial Luna, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I understand.
It's the running joke.
It's funny.
It's as far as like Marty is concerned and the morning show, Nooner. I don't picture him being a Jonas Brothers fan at all. I think he would be more annoyed with them more than anything. Or you think it's like the complete opposite?
Well, this is the thing: is I don't know what any of their personal experiences with the Jonas Brothers have been as far as like their music listening habits. I think John Sylvain, who I think founded the Sacred Fools Theater, I think he might have been the first one to think, it's like, I think the question was, who wants to watch this Jonas Brothers documentary? And I think John might have been one of the first to say, I will, because I know nothing about them. It might be interesting. And I was like, you know what? He's right. Absolutely. So I tweeted at them that I said, I would 100% watch this documentary just to do it, just to, have an interesting experience. And it did end up being a pretty good documentary. I now know more about them. I'm trying to think, did I recognize any of their music? And that's the other thing too. It totally could be, it's in a totally other universe if there's nothing that makes me go like, oh yeah, I've heard that song.
I can't.
But there is one song I had heard, and it was actually done by, there's the middle Jonas. I think that's Joe Jonas. Who, Joe Jonas, he had I don't want to say a solo project, but he had an offshoot project called DNCE. Like Dance With That. And they had a song called Cake by the Ocean. And I have heard that, and that's a fun song.
Well, you know, it's funny that you should say this because I haven't thought about the Jonas Brothers in like, God, like 100 years. Like they went out of my head.
Yeah.
Like if you hadn't have brought them up for this particular episode, like I would never have given them another thought ever. I'm not saying like they're bad people or they're like, you know, they suck at what they did, but it's just like that wasn't my particular, you know, I guess it wasn't my particular taste of music. That's why I never really listened to them. But like now that it's kind of like a blast from the past, really.
Sure.
That you're mentioning this. It's kind of like, do you remember like those two Russian chicks? They were singers for a while.
Tattoo?
Maybe.
I don't know. I'm thinking maybe.
I don't even know their names.
Can you describe them?
No. They were popular. Oh, hold on, let me pull it up now because they were popular in the early 2000s, and then they kind of went like off grid.
The only one I can, if you just say two Russian chicks, the ones that come to mind are, I think there's a group was called Tattoo, and I think it was called TATU, and they dressed like Catholic schoolgirls. But I don't. There might have been something else. I also don't know that they were Russian. It's literally like just garbage in my head going. A little, maybe this is it. I think a little bit of memory here.
So let's see if this is going to work. Let's see. You're absolutely right.
What's that?
TU.
Say what?
I think you're absolutely right. If this is what I'm looking for, it's TATU.
Tattoo.
Yes. And there were two of them.
And there was a song called, I think, They're Not Going to Find Us or They're Not Going to Stop Us. It's one of those, something
They're
like that.
not going to stop us.
Wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, like if you had not mentioned the Jonas Brothers doc, I would never have even given them another thought. Just like these two chicks right here, I would never have given them another thought ever.
There you go. Yeah. So you thought of Tattoo as okay. So Miley Cyrus shows up in this a little bit because they met her when they did an episode of Hannah Montana, which was a show I never watched.
I watched like briefly, like maybe like 20 minutes of it.
It was Disney Channel. Now I was a Disney person. I was definitely a Disney child, so I had I would watch Disney stuff. We didn't have the Disney Channel because we didn't have cable, and that's fine, by the way. As a kid who liked Disney, I was okay with not having lots and lots of access to new content Disney related. It was okay. I was okay with it. It was just one of those things that I was okay with. You would think that it would have been disappointing for a kid, but no, cool. I'm just realizing that now. I'm realizing that I wasn't.
It's weird.
Emotionally scarred by not
too,
having the Disney Channel. What?
I was a Disney kid too when I was a kid. But
a lot of content.
Obviously, as an adult, I kind of fell out of it. But now, since we are so like tightly wrapped up in combat radio, and what do they do best? Disney. So it's kind of like, you know what I mean? Like Disney. Oh yeah, videos like all about.
But yeah. So Jonas Brothers did have. Their video was played on the Disney Channel, and then they got really popular like a lot quicker than they had been previously. It was like a big break for them. Anyway, so I saw Miley Cyrus, and I'm like, I remember just thinking about this. Now we were talking about it. I had this album that came out a couple of years ago now, called Bangers. I think with a Z on the end. So like BANGERZ, I believe was at it. And I listened to that album because I as you know. I listen to things when I work. So if I'm putting together succotash, then I'll listen to podcasts or soundcasts, both. And if I've got time and I want to just experience music that I haven't heard before, I will put on an album and just try and get through it. Just put it on one I've never heard before. Like I did Jackson Browne's first album not that long ago, and it was pretty good. It was really good. I don't remember much of it, but I do remember liking it, is what I'm saying. So I also did this with a couple of Wu-Tang Clan albums. You remember I was talking about this at one point.
I love Wu-Tang Clan.
And I can't remember now. I'm going to have to actually listen again, but it was definitely like, I think the first one or two I did. And I think the second one might've been a double album or something. So I don't remember. Like this is a little while ago, but I did listen to Bangers, Miley Cyrus Bangers, and I thought it was pretty good. I was, because I like dance music. I like electronic music, and it's not all that, but I do appreciate production, like audio production, and it was a very interesting sounding album. It had a lot of good stuff on it. I don't know. Anyway, but I haven't heard anything much else.
But that's the fun thing about like watching things that you've never seen before, or reading things you've never read before, because you never know. You can always not know about something and then automatically like it. That's why documentaries are so great, because you can learn so much about something that you never knew before. Like Jonas Brothers, maybe Marty Yu's like a big Jonas Brothers fan. You don't know.
Maybe he is. I don't know.
I don't picture him as a Jonas Brothers fan at all. I picture maybe Cassandra is the the big Jonas Brothers fan, and maybe Marty Yu is not.
She is around the it's so delicate when you talk about women and their age and relative to their age. I would say she's likely to have intersected with them at a formative portion of her life. I do not know. If it was 2005, it was, what the heck? What do we do? 14 years ago.
Yeah.
So, I had been married for like a couple of years. 2 years. 2019. Well, it's the beginning of 2019. So, yeah, we got married at the end of 2003. It doesn't matter. Anyway, it was
odd.
So anybody in their 20s was in their teens then, is my point, pretty much. So
I was 24 years old at that point.
Yeah, anybody in their 30s and their 40s, anybody in their 40s. I was 15 years ago. I was 30,
and I didn't even know you at that point.
No, not for a couple more years. Like 2012, I think was it's 2012. So
we're sure 2011.
It was around April of because of the Combat Radio video, the Plan 9 from Outer Space thing.
Yes. And
that, I believe I published that in April of 2012. I think it's on Combat Radio Images, which is a YouTube channel that I don't know gets much traffic at all, but it's all run one word, and that's COMBATRADIOIMAGES. Combat Radio Images. Lots of clips from Combat Radio, only up to a certain point, and then they have another channel, and I'm sorry I can't think of it at the moment, but I'll put a note in here, and if I ever get around to putting this on YouTube, I will have a link somewhere.
So before we get into something else, Tyson did bring up a very interesting fact that you are not going to hear this until probably January of some kind, hopefully earlier, but who knows. So with that being said, Halloween.
Closer to Halloween, actually. Probably.
Okay, so if it's closer to Halloween, let's just say Halloween.
This is Halloween. This is Halloween.
So if it's Halloween, don't forget to go to /Combat Radio for your Combat Radio Halloween albums. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. We are on, volume 2 or 3?
I think it's 3.
Yeah, so 3. So we are on 3. You can go check out the Haunted
Tour.
Haunted Tour, right, where he's Mr. Lee. I'm Mr. Fritz.
You're Fritz. I'm Mr. L, and you're Fritz.
Yes, you're Mr. L. I'm Fritz. They might listen to it. They might not listen to it. How does that voice sound, by the way?
Good.
Do I still got it?
Sounds like Fritz.
Yes. So you can go check that out. You can get so for $19.99 you can get a 2-disc album, or you can buy the tracks, individual tracks for 99 cents. Go check that out. It's all good for. It's all the money goes go to if I can say it right. All money goes to a good cause. So if it's like I said, if you're hearing this right around Halloween, go check that out. cdbaby.com/combat radio. Get your album today. You can get all 3, all 4. I know that 5 is coming out soon, right? Yeah. When Ethan Dettenmeyer of Combat Radio came to us and said, "Hey, do you want to be part of Combat Radio's Halloween album, Volume 3?" We both jumped on the idea. Now, keep in mind, I've never done anything like this. So I was like, Tyson, what do we do? So Tyson had like this whole elaborate idea of giving you an audio tour through a haunted mansion. And I'm like, that's so cool. Like, so like, we came up with characters, like he's Mr. L, I'm Fritz, and came up with rooms and script and all that. And I have to admit, like, we worked on this like now, let's say, and it was completely fun, like the whole time. Like I had a completely fun time doing it. I remember in my old house going down to the basement where it's where you can scream your head off, because I had to scream my head off. And it was just great. It was a fun time.
I remember you recording nighttime sounds and sending them to me.
Yes, absolutely.
I remember recording a lot of the voices in kind of a. I don't know. I can't remember if I. I don't think I think I did them in order of appearance, like because I had a bunch, and I rather than just do takes only of Mr. L. I kind of like did them in order because I think it helped me get more of a how to talk back and forth between two people. I had to figure out the performance, which is, I don't know if that comes through
now,
or not, but
if you have, if you're the listener, obviously you are, if you've never listened to this before. So how this was recorded was, like, right now I'm looking at Tyson, right? Like I'm like physically staring at him. We're having a physical live conversation.
Yes. You may at some point you'll be able to see this as well.
Right. So when we did the actual recording of our haunted tour, it's not like he had like the script in front of him, and well, we did, but it's not like for everything I said, he said, vice versa. So basically, what we started off doing was we basically Skyped, and it was me reading my lines, right? And he was basically saying, like, giving me a thumbs up, like, yeah, that's great, or like a thumbs down, like, no, do it again. And he was like my director, and it was like really cool because I got a chance to like be an actor where I was never an actor before. So like he was my director, and it was like completely fun. Like, I've never done this before, so it's like oh my god, I'm kind of nervous, excited at the same time. So
well, you did well. I mean, I didn't really think about it in that context. So, yeah, but you have brought this up before, and I appreciate that I'm glad you had a good time. I'm sorry I didn't.
The whole time, like, dude, even like when you and I were like sitting down and like just on the phone talking, like not Skype, but like on the phone talking about like the different rooms, like what the dialogue was, like the whole thing was like fun, because remember, you and I like would sit down for like weeks on end, like every single night and do this, and that was like the fun part of it. Like the recording part of it was fun too. Like the whole process of it was fun, and I just remember like I couldn't wait to get home after work because I knew I was going to be working on this, and it's like I can't wait because like we're going to come up with different rooms, the script, and then finally the recording time, and then finally like we sat down and I was doing like my scenes, like my lines and stuff, and it was like, oh, this is cool, like because I've never done this before. So
neat.
Like yeah, it was really cool. So if we get another opportunity to do this, it's going to be fantastic. We're paying tribute to something that's kind of like classic Halloween as far as like the haunted, like a haunted mansion type deal, which Tyson was physically involved in years ago.
Yeah, it's not really. I take issue. I understand what you're saying, but the haunted mansion, it's more of a pantomime haunted house kind of tour.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not really like a haunted mansion is, in my mind, is a very distinct thing. Like you're being led through, like, because there are actually a couple of mansions, around here, yeah. And the idea of having a walk through haunted house with scenes in it is an amazing thought, but it's not what we're describing.
Well, no.
It's like a single layer, maze basically, and then every few feet there's a room, and it's got some kind of diorama. I don't know what to call it, but it's got some kind of display with actors or props. Well, yeah, usually actors, props, makeup, lighting. Usually a soundtrack that's unique to the room.
Well, this is
and it's
this.
Like yeah.
Well, this is not this. This is more of a in your mind type deal.
Well, that's what it was, but that's what the haunted tour was trying to recreate. Was like a walk through haunted house. We're like, and in this room, here's the the.
But here's the fun part about this.
The monster of the corner. Yeah, sorry.
Here's the fun part about this. So Tyson, for if you've been listening to all of this.
Thank you. By the way, I appreciate it. Oh, I thought you meant just all the way to this point in the episode.
So if you've been listening to every single episode, you've learned that Tyson is a big fan or a big learner of Esperanto. So what we did was
I try.
Right. So we took Esperanto language and we put it in the Haunted Tour. So I had to learn certain certain words so I can keep up with the chant of Esperanto. And that's also the fun part of it, because when I learn something, it's fun. So here we're sitting we're sitting
I
in
like
this
learning stuff too. Learning stuff is fun. It is.
So we're sitting here. So we're sitting, going over the script, and we're like, okay, well, we're getting to this part where they have to chant because they're drumming up like this big badass demon, and I'm like, well, why don't we just use Esperanto? Esperanto, because most people wouldn't know what that means, but we do.
Well, most people. I mean, right.
It was right. So here I am trying to learn this. And like, keep in mind, when it comes to languages, I suck. Okay. So here I am trying to learn certain words to keep up with him, because obviously he knows more than I do of this language, which is completely fascinating to me.
I try.
Eventually.
It's mi provas.
Yes.
I try. I had to look that up because I couldn't remember how to say I try in Esperanto. I knew how to say I, but I couldn't remember how to say try, so I just looked it up on my Google Translate app.
But the whole process was fun. By the way, listener, I do have a very bad habit of saying podcast. But there is a very awesome dude, dear to my heart, Mark Parshon, the podfather of casting, who basically is trying to redefine how we look at podcasting by saying soundcast. So I say soundcast as much as possible, but every once in a while my brain does go back to podcasting. No disrespect to him, I understand what he's trying to do, but so if I do say podcasting from time to time, it's just because it's kind of like if you were told you're Irish for all of your life, and all of a sudden you find out you're not Irish, but then you start talking to other people about your heritage, you're like, oh, I'm Irish. Wait a second, I'm not Irish anymore, I'm Scottish. It's kind of like that. So it's yes, soundcasting. Soundcasting sounds more evolved than podcasting, obviously.
More evolved and yet more basic.
Yes, basic but better. Because think about this: soundcasting, podcasting, like you're not paying tribute to a dead technology. Right?
The iPod.
Right, the iPod.
You're not beholden to it.
You say soundcast, like that could be on any broad band of like different media. Like it could be on iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Laughable, where, by the way, Succotash is found, the comedy soundcast, hosted by our very own Tyson Sainer.
Hello, folks. Thank you for watching.
But, yes, and thank you. But soundcast just sounds like it's a broader band than podcasting. Podcasting needs to go away.
I mean, it's fine if people want to still call it.
Yeah. I
think they should, but it's not. It'd be nice if I don't know.
It needs to, yeah. But think about this, right? Okay.
It does help to have things be called something in a unifying way, like so that everybody knows what you're talking about. It's one of the things I like about Esperanto is that there's a word for everything.
Right.
And you don't use one word when you mean to say something else.
But think about this. Like the very definite, like the very thing about podcasting is it's evolving, right?
Sure. Oh yeah, it's definitely evolving, certainly. I mean, It's actually might be even devolving by this point in time.
Why you say devolving?
I don't know. It might be. I don't know, because this is the future.
Yeah, but
it could devolve in the next 3 months. I have no idea.
I truly think that
the great podcast calamity. It could.
No, I truly think that soundcasting is really the great last frontier of broadcasting, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's
so because think about this, right? Like, I'm sure there's a lot of radio people that look down on us, whatever, but there's no gatekeepers, right? There's no one to tell you, like, listen, you suck. You can't do this. Don't do it. People are gonna people are gonna downcast you.
No, they're
not at all.
Yeah. No, I mean, there are plenty of people who would do that just to be mean, but we haven't. It's nice that in
the soundcast world, there's no one to tell you no.
The point is anybody can put out a show.
No.
Well, anybody can. Well, not anybody. Anybody with a computer and a microphone can record a show.
No.
They can't?
No.
I'm pretty sure they can. I listened to hundreds of podcasts for Succotash, the Comedy Soundcast, and there's
debate between Hunter and Tyson. I love you, man. Oh, okay, yes.
I'm just saying that it's podcasting it used to be more exotic, and it's more common now. Yeah.
Let me be optimistic. Yes, anyone with a computer, anyone with a hosting license and a mic can do a soundcast, right? But you have to have the drive and the will to want to do it, is what I'm saying. Like, don't listen to the whys. Go with the why nots.
Yes. Why? Sorry.
Right. Well, no, because if you go with the whys, like, okay,
why not?
Yeah, go with the why nots, right? Because there's usually an audience to listen to anything you have to say. So if you want to talk about carjacking,
why not?
Why not? Right. So
why? I'm sorry, I'm agreeing with you a little bit.
You are.
I'm sorry, just a little bit. I just realized it's language. Language is so friggin' weird. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, but Tyson is right. Anyone with a computer, a mic, can do a soundcast, and they should do a soundcast if their heart, desires it. Don't listen to the whys. Listen to the why nots. That's all I'm trying to say.
Well, that's about all the time we have for Antisocial Show. I'm Tyson Sainer.
And I'm Hunter Block.
Be decent to each other.
Absolutely. Peace.
Have a good time, folks.